Good evening. Today we're going to talk about a very common problem that a lot of people are having. It's with reference to video card fan controllers. As you can see, I have a gigantic heatsink on my video card. Now this video card is a Radeon R7 290. It's an oldie, but it actually works okay. Now this cooler is aftermarket. It is a Accelero S1 Plus. It's a passive cooler. It actually mounts quite easily onto the existing card. What's going on here? We've lost power. I wonder what happened there. Try and fire it up again. Oh, it's coming back up. Could be. That might have been the problem. Okay, anyway. This is a full passive cooler. And I have added a 140mm Noctua fan to it. It does cool okay without the fan, but when you put it under load it does get quite hot. So I wanted some cooling. Specs are nothing flash in this. It's only a AM3 quad-core 955 with 8GB of DDR3 RAM and a Kingston SSD 240GB, but that aside. Anyway, what's happened with this video card is the fan controller's died on it. I originally purchased the video card for approximately $50, and upon just booting in and installing drivers, everything seemed to work okay. I just happened to randomly jump in and check temperatures, and the video card was idling on about 82 degrees Celsius, which is very hot. It's almost at boiling point, which for idle is extremely hot. So what I have therefore done is I have mounted this aftermarket cooler on. It has a heat pipe design which is attaching that large heatsink to the GPU die itself. There are some small heat sinks which you have to attach to the RAM modules. And yeah, and I have just dodgily, if that's a word, I have very dodgily super glued this fan on. But given the size of it, it works extremely well. And what I have done is plugged it into the PWM header down there. Now it is only a 3-pin fan, so it's good, it works. Your results may vary depending on the fan, but it must be plugged into a PWM header for this thing to work. So what I have done, we'll just log back on. Just give us a moment here. Running Windows 10 Pro, 64-bit. Just load in. It actually loads quite good, but that's the performance of the SSD. Now, I have yet to load the the SpeedFan program to launch on startup, which is what I'm using as my fan controller. As you can see, Netflix is set to launch, but I shall add SpeedFan in later. So anyhow, we will manually launch it. Now if we have a look at the temps, as you can see when it kicks in, see how PWM2, we'll just get rid of that. Some message thing now. As you can see, PWM2 is now at 35%. Now, the fan spinning at 1300 RPM is the CPU fan, and the 462 RPM is the big Noctua fan on the GPU. As you can see, temps are quite good. Results are a little bit higher with the side of the case on, but that's because of lack of front cooling, which I'm going to modify later, but it's quite stable. As you can see, we have a R9 200 series, which is a R9 270. Now the GPU is sitting at 33 degrees under idle, which is quite good. Now, what I will do is run a benchmark and we shall see the actual temps. Let's find Fairmark. Okay, so as you can see, these are the details here. R9 270X and 34 degrees Celsius is our current temperature. Resolution is 1920 by 1080. Now, we are going to run the GPU stress test. Okay, we'll fire this up. Yep, go for it. Oh, okay. Let's try. Must be the resolution to do with my TV. That normally works, that's bizarre. 1920 by 1080, where has it gone? 1920 by 1080. Go. Now it's going to work, stupid thing. Okay, now we'll Alt-Tab across to Speed Fan. Now, as you can see, that speed is now ramping up on that Noctua fan. However, temperatures are quite good. I have modified the temperature settings to detect over 50 is starting to get warm, but that's well within good specs. As you can see, typically under the general specifications, the GPU fan would be spinning at that speed. However, the fan controller is dead, so they do not spin at all. But it still calculates they are. So we'll run this for a bit. As you can see, GPU load is 99%, fan is 38%. So typically in our ideal system this would be running very well. Core clock's running at 1020 megahertz. And yeah, getting nice steady frames. Getting an average of 65 frames for the Fairmark version 1.18.2.0. Now, as you can see, that GPU is quite stable. Fan is up to 1200 RPM. If we go back and have a look, if we touch this, it's actually quite cool. Running very well. Just a cheap generic cooler on the CPU there, but it does the job. So the temperature in the room is quite cool at the moment as I have the air conditioner on. Normally temperatures do not exceed 62 degrees under full load for a good amount of time. All games that I've played on this work quite well. This is a worst case scenario. But everything's working quite well. So as you can see, automatic fan speed is ticked. So now what we shall do, I think that's long enough to show that it's stable. We'll cancel this all out. And as you can see, the temp will drop right back down to a nice cool temperature. And that fan is also slowing down. So you can see that the fan controller works quite well. And temperatures are pretty good too. Sorry, speeds from the fans. It's pretty quiet, this computer. So we'll get rid of CCleaner out of the way there. Now, how you set this up is you go configure. You go across to fan control. What you would normally do is see under here, we'd go to add. So this is under the fan control header. And as you can see, I already have one there marked A. We will now click on this. As you can see, you can pick your temperatures. where it comes from. So at the moment we are set to read from the GPU temperature. Now over here you tick controlled speed and set your PWM header. At the current time PWM2 is what the Noctua fan is plugged into. Sum of speeds I have found to be the best option over there. Now you can actually set your absolute curve of what your fan speed will be based on the temperature of the video card. You can set your increments there. So once you have done all that, you click on OK. I'm just going to cancel because I've modified that when I shouldn't have. And if you've done it correctly, once you tick automatic fan speed, it will work fine. And then what you can do is you can add this speed fan to launch upon startup, and it will work as soon as you jump on the computer. It will launch automatically, as you saw Netflix did there before, and it will monitor your temperatures nicely. You can actually set an alarm if it goes too hot, which is also good. So anyway, hope this one helped to save an old video card. It did in my case. So yeah, thank you and see you later.